Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation, it is Wednesday, the 23rd of April, 2025. And as always, once you lose your trust or their trust, you don't get it back. You hear that, legacy media? You hear that, mainstream media? Guess what, folks?
You won't be trusted anymore.
No, once you lose that trust, it's almost impossible to get it back. Anyway, welcome to the WTF Reports. I'm Dave vonKleist, your host for this broadcast. And yes, this broadcast is brought to you in part by Blackout Coffee. Now, I don't know about you, but coffee is one of those staples that I just have to have. First thing I do when I stumble out of bed is I put the coffee on. And I know that's probably a routine that most of you employ every day of your life. Hey, look, if you're going to drink coffee, why drink that stuff that's on the shelves in the grocery store? And a lot of that stuff is just junk. You get what you pay for. And Blackout Coffee has got light roast, medium roast, dark roast. They've got coffee pods. They have iced coffee. They have all kinds of coffee products, and they are made here in the USA. These guys know what they're doing. They make a good product, and they deserve your business. Not only that, but they're patriots. They support first responders, law enforcement officers, and the military. And the different coffees are themed to express that opinion. Anyway, go to our website, TheWTFReports.com. Check out our sponsors page and get some Blackout Coffee. You'll be glad you did. Anyway, where do I start? Well, I'll tell you what, this is not going to be easy. This is not going to be a fun well, yeah, I suppose I'm going to try to make it fun. I try to do that. A little, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. But the simple fact of the matter is we have to constantly keep in mind that the powers that be, the elitists, the globalists, the movers, the shakers, the policymakers, the oligarchs who are in control of the banks and all of the information, they want to kill us. They want us dead. Keep that in the front of your head on just about everything that you look at, because it all comes back to that same policy. Now, there's no debate. The globalists want a one-world control. They want a one-world government, a new world order, if you will. They've been talking about that for years. But they want to do that under their terms. They want to have absolute control, and they want to reduce the population of this planet drastically. Now, if you think that's a conspiracy theory, raise your hand and slap yourself with it. It was literally etched in stone in the Georgia Guidestones. Those of you who don't know what the Georgia Guidestones are, or shall I say were, do some research. Just look up Georgia Guidestones and then click on images. Look at the first, there are 10, shall I say, commandments, 10 tenets on these Georgia Guidestones. And there were 4 huge granite slabs facing north, south, east, and west. That's 4 slabs, and each one has 2 sides. So there are 8 sides and 8 different languages. And the number 1 tenet, and I can quote this, it said, and I quote, maintain humanity at no more than 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Okay, that's 500 million. We are fast approaching 8 billion. So they're going to have to get rid of 7.5 billion people. Now, they can't do this as long as this country still exists. So first they have to destroy this country. And they're doing a grand job of it, I must say. Through media manipulation, psychological operations. And by the way, we are all being subjected to a military-grade, pharmaceutical-grade, global PSYOP operations. And that's a fact. But anyway, the point is here, if they want to kill off a good percentage of this population, we have to ask the question, well, how are they going to do it? And we already know why. They don't want, they don't want a whole bunch of people who are going to rise up against them. They want to basically eliminate a number of the population and make sure that those who remain are obedient workers, just like George Carlin said. So, with that in mind, Okay, with that in mind, I want you to listen to a couple of clips that I brought. And again, see, I show up here with the audio receipts. Okay, yes, I will editorialize occasionally. I'll give my view on the subject for what it's worth. But the bottom line is I base my opinions on information. And as always, if you base your opinion on misinformation, disinformation, or lies, that means that your opinion is an extension of the lie. So it behooves us to do some research. And keep in mind, yes, the mainstream media, the legacy media, has been pushing propaganda and BS at us, all of our lives. And, it's not just the left that's doing that. The right does it too. As a matter of fact, there was a story that came out a couple days ago that I almost reported on, but I held my tongue because something didn't sound right. I don't know if you've heard about it, but there's a story going around that AOC's brother, Matthew, was busted on Lake Michigan on a boat, and it was reported that the boat, they were arrested by the Coast Guard, and that they found $1.2 million worth of fentanyl on the boat. And that would basically, fentanyl that's a bad drug, and they've reclassified those who deal in fentanyl as terrorists. So is it possible that Matthew Ocasio-Cortez would have been busted as a domestic terrorist? Well, anyway, I hesitated on reporting that. And I'm glad I did, because it's turned out that it's most likely misinformation. Okay, fact checkers are out there saying it didn't happen. If it really did happen, yes, the conservative news organizations would be screaming from the rooftops, and none of them are doing that. So this is why I'm saying I don't care if you're liberal or conservative. I don't care if you're right wing or left wing. I don't care. Everybody has to do diligence and do their own research. So with that in mind, okay, I've been watching this stuff for years and years and years. And so have a lot of other people. And yes, we're all called conspiracy theorists because of our efforts. But again, I show up here with the audio receipts. So I let you hear it directly from the horse's mouth. And a couple of articles here that I want to share with you. Audio clips rather, about eugenics, about wanting to kill large amounts of populations. Now, there was an interview. Glenn Beck was interviewing Whitney Webb, and she brought up some very important points. And here she is. And again, this is a Whitney Webb with Glenn Beck. Listen to this.
This is where it gets frightening.
Well, it's tied up with depopulation, right? You have this being sort of the new path of eugenics. And so, I don't think these people ultimately care about, how many people are left, right?
Smart and right.
Well, eugenics is...
you.
People like to act like eugenics disappeared, and it hasn't. It's just rebranded. And if you look at the history, it's very clear, and it's very disconcerting.
That's why everything you're seeing that is coming out of policy all over the world, all of the World Economic Forum seems so
look
Malthusian.
At Canada, the medically assisted death originally was going to be for terminally ill people. Now people are pitching it to homeless people in Canada, saying you're too poor to live. Do you want to kill yourself?
How do we not remember what happened last time?
Well, I think some of these people, you look at the Rockefellers, they funded what happened last time. There's sort of these mergers, because there's many of them, of Silicon Valley companies and big pharma. They're framing it as healthcare, but it's eugenics being framed as healthcare. And it's really...
terrifying.
It's terrifying. It's crazy. There's a lot of words for it, but, ultimately it has to be stopped. And unfortunately, COVID has set this precedent where it can be mandatory, or where you can lose your livelihood, where you can, not be able to travel. You can basically be placed under house arrest unless you agree to it.
If you don't, in the grand scheme of where we've all been upgraded, we're all part of the internet.
Upgraded.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think that's the intention. That's how they're selling it to people. If you look at this, for example, the British Eugenics Society, where a lot of this came from, you look at someone like H.G. Wells, best known as a science fiction writer, but also a avowed eugenicist. He predicted that in 100 to 200 years, there would be two human races. There would be the upgraded, augmented elite who were intellectual and attractive and, were the ones that did everything. And then a dwarf-like, troll-like, squat, underclass that eats bugs. And, for people that have been paying attention, it seems like, they're selling this as one way. It's all going to be a utopian thing if we all upgrade. I mean, that's how it's being framed, right? But if you look at how these people think, they don't want that. They're looking at feudalism and how do you create a class of slaves that cannot even cognitively rebel ever again.
Yep. That's exactly right. I mean, did you hear what she was saying? They want to have two classes of humans. And this is true. This is true. I mean, it's deeds, not words. And if you look at what the powers that be have been doing for the past several decades, it becomes painfully obvious. And again, I've referred to this several times in the past. Back in the 70s, there was a book that was released by Dr. Robert Ehrlich, and it was called The Population Bomb. And, of course, that's, we're talking half a century ago. And this is a concept that's been floating around through the international elites for quite some time. They want to lower the world population by any means necessary. Maybe that's why we've seen such a promotion for the LGBTQ, et cetera, because gays don't have kids. Okay, and not only that, but transgenders, I mean, once they go through that surgery, they're sterile for life, and they're also pharmaceutical customers for life. Oh, shing, maybe there's something behind this whole push for transgenderism. But anyway, I wanted to share that particular clip because, yes, it's a clear indication of what their intentions are. Well, that's not the only clip. Listen to this one. This is a little interesting as well.
Listen to this.
I would like to reduce the number of people on the planet because there's too many of us.
That was Jane Goodall. She works with the World Economic Forum. She got a knighthood and all sorts of awards for her humanitarian work. And you know who else received the knighthood? Jimmy Savile. Let's keep going.
The world today has 6.8 billion people. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
That was Bill Gates, also a regular of the World Economic Forum. They gave him the Medal of Freedom, and he's also a doctor now, and he wants to inoculate the entire planet. Let's just be honest with each other. These people want to get rid of us, enslave the strong ones and remove the useless eaters. And if they believe that humans are so bad and we need to depopulate, how about you show your great leadership skills and start with yourself?
That's right. That's right. And again, that was a little audio that was posted on X, and it contained quotes from Jane Goodall, Bill Gates, and it's obvious what the World Economic Forum is trying to do. Interesting that Klaus Schwab has stepped down. Maybe he's feeling a little bit of heat. I don't know. I certainly hope so. But this depopulation idea is nothing new. This is on their front burner right now. They absolutely want to reduce the population because there's too many of us, and many of us are waking up. Now, I want to share with you another audio clip. Let me see. Where is that one? Okay. This is Malcolm Roberts. He is a senator from Australia. And he made a very, very interesting statement. And I think you might want to hear this. Here it is.
It's become clear that people in this country and globally have been steamrolled. It is also clear that it has been coordinated globally. It is also clear that it has been integrated, not just over 6 months, not just over 2.5 years, but it has been planned over decades. The changes to legislation in this country were done so that they could control doctors and people. But the people are waking, and it's thanks to people like Dr. Altman and all the presenters here today, thanks to people like Senator Babette and Craig Kelly. We know and we knew that this is all bullshit and that we've been had. But we are going to hound you down, the people that are guilty. We are going to hound you down and hold you accountable, and we will expose your global agenda so that the people of Australia can be free in the future. Because I love my kids, and I'm looking forward to my grandkids. And we are going to save this country.
And we're going to save this country as well. Like I said, everybody around the world is starting to pay attention, which is a great thing. Unfortunately, the truth is being labeled as hate speech. I'll get to that shortly. But I also wanted to go back in time. Let's do some time travel. I'm going to go back to the year 1991. And there's a book entitled Behold a Pale Horse. Some of you already know about that. Yes, it's a very interesting book indeed. Written by William Cooper, former Naval Intelligence Officer. He used to do a radio show on Worldwide Christian Radio on WWCR. What was that, 25 years ago? Oh, gosh, 30 years ago now that I think about it. And, he was screaming from the rooftops. And he released this book in 1991. And I think you might find this very interesting. Okay, I'm going to read, this is page 166. If you don't have a copy of this book, you really should get it. Get the original copy, though. There isn't a new, quote-unquote, improved and revised edition, which has basically deleted a lot of the documents that he had in the original book. So be very careful when you purchase. Anyway, the bottom line here is this is chapter 9, page 166, in Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. I read. Listen carefully. A third study was made by the Club of Rome ending in 1968 to determine limits to growth. The result was the same. The Club of Rome was commissioned to develop a computer model of the world so as to predict the outcome of corrections made to social and economic structures by the elect. The Club of Rome was also asked to develop a computer model of a new world order. Both tasks were accomplished. Here we go. Listen to this. Studies were done to determine a method to arrest the population explosion before the point of no return would be reached. It was determined that an immediate attack on the problem would involve 2 points of intervention. The first was to lower the birth rate, and the second was to increase the death rate. To lower the birth rate, several programs were put into motion. The first was the development of positive birth control methods using mechanical, diaphragm or condom, chemical, foam and birth control pills, and medical, sterilization, abortion, and hysterectomy procedures. These were developed and implemented. The women's liberation movement was started with the demand for free abortions using, quote, pro-choice as its rallying cry. Homosexuality was encouraged, and gay liberation was born. Homosexuals do not have children. Zero population growth became a hot subject at cocktail parties. Individual freedom, the heat of the moment religion, and the old blue laws sabotaged these efforts. And while zero population growth became a reality in some areas, population increased rapidly in others. The only alternative left to the world's ruling elite was to increase the death rate. This was a difficult thing to do, as no one wanted to pick people out of a crowd and line them up for execution. Neither did they relish the possible consequences of an enraged public upon discovering that they were being systematically murdered. Of course, a very short but very deadly global war using nuclear weapons upon selected population concentrations was contemplated, and, to tell you the truth, was not ruled out. The fact that such a population control was even contemplated confirmed the worst fears of those who had participated in the 1957 study. War was put on the back burner to simmer, but may become a reality. In the meantime, something else had to be done that would absolve the decision makers of guilt and place the blame on those who did not lead clean lives. Something that could be blamed upon Mother Nature. What was needed was the bubonic plague or some other horrible but natural disease. The answer came from Rome. Okay, one more paragraph here. Several top-secret recommendations were made by Dr. Aurelio Purcell of the Club of Rome. He advocated that a plague be introduced that would have the same effect as the famous Black Death of history. The chief recommendation was to develop a microbe which would attack the autoimmune system and thus render the development of a vaccine impossible. The orders were given to develop the microbe and to develop a prophylactic and a cure. The microbe would be used against the general population and would be introduced by vaccine. The prophylactic was to be used by the ruling elite. The cure would be administered to the survivors when it is decided that enough people had died. The cure would be announced as newly developed, when in fact it had existed from the beginning. This plan is part of Global 2000. By the way, now it's Project 2030. The prophylactic and the cure are suppressed. Okay, so this is again from 1991, folks. You know, and it's William Cooper was dead on the money. If you don't have a copy of this book, you really should get a copy and read it. But this indicates what their intentions are, and it's not hard to figure out. And like I said, they're doing this by any and all means necessary. Now, what's happened, remember when this whole pandemic was happening and they were banning all these different drugs, you know, hydroxychloroquine. You couldn't even say hydroxychloroquine. You couldn't even say ivermectin because it was horse goo, worm medicine. Now, guess what? On Fox News, Maria, what's her name, Bartoloma, something like that. She had a senator, oh gosh, I can't remember his name now. Anyway, this was on Fox News not too long ago. Listen to this.
FDA is now saying that it's okay to take ivermectin if you have COVID. I mean, Senator, I remember talking with you repeatedly during COVID about your upset that they were trying to cancel you because you were talking to doctors to try to find out the right ways to treat COVID without having to get too many boosters and COVID shots. My COVID was gone in a day when I took ivermectin, and now 3 years later, the FDA says, oh yeah, that's fine, take ivermectin. What?
Maria, you know the doctors I've been dealing with and talking to for years now. They believe that probably hundreds of thousands of Americans lost their lives because they were denied early treatment. And they were denied it because the FDA sabotaged, for example, ivermectin when they said, come on, y'all, you're not a cow, you're not a horse. You know, this is supposedly horse medicine. No, this is a Nobel Prize-winning medicine that could have saved hundreds of thousands of lives. It did save many, many lives because you did have doctors with the courage to and the compassion to actually treat patients using it and putting at risk their medical license. But fortunately, you say, what can we do? Well, we do have reporters like yourself, like John Solomon, other people that have the courage to report the truth against the mainstream media and against the narrative. But that's the only way this is going to be solved, is we need the truth to be exposed. We need more Americans to listen to the truth, to be exposed to the truth, to pull their heads out of the sand, quite honestly, open up their eyes and understand what is happening in this country. We are going down a very dangerous path, but it's a path that is being laid out and planned by an elite group of people that want to take total control over our lives. And that's what they're doing bit by bit. They do it by increasing massive government spending, increasing the size of government, takeover of the WHO. These amendments that are coming up that are going to be voted on in 2024 on the WHO are frightening, and they really risk taking away all of our sovereignty. People have to awaken to the dangers of the moment.
Yes, they do. They have to wake up to the dangers of the moment, but they're not going to wake up if they're continually consuming the intellectual fecal matter that's being thrown at them by the mainstream media. And again, if you consume intellectual fecal matter, you end up with stuff for brains. So this is why I implore all of you folks out there, all of you listeners, don't believe anything that you hear on the news. You've got to do your own research. And I'm including, I'm not just referring to the alphabet broadcast networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, Fox. No, I include OAN. I include Newsmax. I include News Nation. Okay, all of these other alternative networks that have popped up in the past few years, these quote-unquote conservative networks, they're just as much full of horse hockey as the liberal media is. Now, granted, they are better at reporting, some of the stuff that's going on politically and domestically, but they are still promoting the horse hockey and propaganda that continues the efforts of the globalist agenda. It's only been disguised, and it's coming at it instead of coming at it from the left, it's coming at it from the right. Same goal. So you've got to do your own research. Absolutely. You have to. Now, like I was saying at the beginning of this broadcast, The powers that be want to reduce the population by any means necessary, any and all means necessary. Now, the reason I bring this up, is because, well, we recently heard about yet another mass shooting. There seems like that they're starting to happen on a fairly regular basis right now, and it's been going on for quite some time. And Dr. Kevin Artis, had this to say in regard to these school shootings, and there's a reason I'm playing this clip. Here you go.
Last 52 years of documented school shootings in America, conducted by teenagers. Do you know 100% of them were on either an antidepressant or on a barbiturate drug for anxiety? And every one of these antidepressants, including Prozac, Zoloft, Xanax, you name them, all these anti-anxiety drugs and antidepressants, do you know every single one of them are published to increase the risk of suicide behavior and actions, and I quote, lead to violent and homicidal actions. 100% of all school shooters, for the documented 52 years of history, we've been tracking them and studying them, 100% of all the shooters were on drugs that are published and prescribed by your medical doctor, brought to you by CVS and Walgreens and others.
Yep. The SSRI drugs are very, very prevalent in almost all of the, or according to him, all of the school shootings. And this comes as no surprise to yours truly. 20 years ago, when I was doing the Power Hour on the GCN network, one of the regular guests we had was Ann Blake Tracy. She wrote a book called Prozac, Panacea or Pandora. And she took a deep dive into these SSRI drugs. And after interviewing her several times, I wrote a little song about that. And I want to share that with you because, and again, this song is 20 years old. This happened a long time ago. And yet here it is again. We're dealing with the same problem, the same issue. Give a listen to the lyrics of this song. Here it is. And here it is. What's going on here? All right, let's try again. All right, there we go. Okay, listen to the lyrics here.
Sam's a little hyper. He wiggles in his seat. He doesn't tuck his shirt in. He isn't very neat. He speaks out in the classroom. He runs from here to there. When it's brought to his attention, it's like he doesn't care. So what could be the problem? Why can't he get it right? The teacher's at her wit's end. No solution is in sight. For breakfast he has Pop-Tarts and a bowl of Cap'n Crunch. He drinks a glass of chocolate milk. He has ice cream bars for lunch. At home he watches TV, Nintendo games galore. And he never puts his stuff away, and he never shuts the door. His mother got a phone call from the counselor at school. Said, we've got a pharmaceutical, it's a new effective tool. Let's drug him down. Let's drug him down. Yeah, we can turn him around. Let's drug him down. Give him Zoloft, give him Bus Bar, Ativan, and Prozac too, or any other drug that'll do the things they do. At first it seemed to work because the symptoms went away, but soon he seemed depressed and he'd argue every day. His mom became concerned and she took him off that med, and then something went awry and something snapped inside his head. He started getting violent. Every day there'd be a fight. Then his mother finally realized that something wasn't right. Then Sammy got a raincoat and some dark sunglasses too. He didn't tell his parents where he went or what he'd do. The other kids at school were afraid when he's around. Then one day police were called because some stuff was going down. Sammy thought he had to injure, Sammy thought he had to kill, but they never told you on the news he was on some pharma pill. They drugged him down. Yeah, they drugged him down. They tried to turn him around. Yeah, they drugged him down. Gave him Zoloft, gave him Bus Bar, Ativan, and Prozac too, or any other drug that'll do the things they do. Yeah! drugs out of the school. But the pharma manufacturers are exempt from many rules. They're rigging in the dollars, making billions every year. They only want your money, they don't care about your tears. Almost every single killing that you're hearing on the news has a psycho-drug connection, but they're keeping that from you. Let's bring them down. Yeah, let's bring them down. We'll sue them right in the ground. Yeah, let's bring them down. Hey, Eli, Lilly, GD, Zero, Bristol Myers, and Bayer 2, GlaxoSmithKline, Squibb, and Pfizer, sucking money out of you. Let's bring them down. Yeah, let's bring them down. Let's sue them right in the ground. Yeah, let's bring them down. 'Cause they're just a bunch of leeches sucking money out of you. Let's bring them down. Let's bring them down.
Yeah, let's bring them down. Absolutely, let's bring them down. And maybe that's what RFK Jr. is slowly and incrementally trying to do, take down Big Pharma. And the thing is, all of our well, not all of them, but over 95% of our pharmaceuticals come from China. Oh, my God. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick break. Here we go. Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now, the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary. And you can get More Tank if you visit our website, TheWTFreports.com. Go to our website and click on the advertisers or sponsors page, and it'll take you right to the page of the folks who are trying to help us and keep us on the air. And you can contribute to that effort by getting More Tank. You'll save 10% off of the retail price. You'll get 5 tablets. One goes in each tank of gas. Well, the first tank that you introducing this to your car or your truck or whatever, you put 2 tablets in. But from that point, you put 1 tablet in per tank of gas. And when you get 5 tablets and 5 tanks of gas, you'll find that your increasing mileage is about 15 to 20%, which means your one purchase pays for itself. This is a no-brainer, folks. Your vehicle will run better, and you'll get better mileage, and your engine burns cleaner. So help the environment, help your pocket, help your car and your truck, and get More Tank. Okay, that said, let's open the phone lines, and I have a couple of little audio clips I want to share. But the phone number here, if you want to join the broadcast, is 215-867-8255. Again, that's 215-TOP-TALK. 215-867-8255. All right, I got a little poem somebody posted on X, and I want to share this with you. This is kind of cool. Listen to this poem. Here it is.
You thought yourselves our masters. You figured we'd all just submit. We pleaded our case from the rafters, and you cared not one little bit. You break every rule of the founding. You banish the truth from our ears. And now you defy our desire to know why our country is in such arrears. We've all seen the funds that you've taken. We know how much evil you've sown. The American spirit shall never be shaken, and your cover has all been blown. As you shout against our leaders, whom we have chosen to lead, you need to recall what America is. We're a very different breed. Our forefathers took on the mighty, and with God on their side, they won. A new revolution is now underway, and my friend, it has only begun. We no longer fall to your lies, yet you issue more new ones each day. The last 2 decades have made very sure we no longer care what you say. I proclaim for all who will listen, the time to reckon is here. The evil shall fall as we have a ball and drag you to jail by the ear. Let us lynch the liars who cheat us, give their goods to the needy and poor. America rises to glory, and the people shall suffer no more. Enough secret grifters, you're done. It's pitchforks and torches for you. We now know enough to stand as one and see our true mission through. You funded diseases to kill us and brought new invaders as well. All power belongs to the people who'd like to send you back to hell. None of us cares about racial division. Brothers and sisters are we. Those who divide can now learn to hide for screwing the land of the free.
Ooh, I like that part about pitchforks and torches. Yes, there's a price that many are going to have to pay. And I got to be honest with you, a lot of us out here have been watching and waiting for the arrests. Now, we know that treason has been going on wholesale across this country, and nobody's being held accountable. And, I mean, we have a new administration here. We got Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, and they're both saying, yeah, day one, we're going to release these files, and the Epstein files. We're not getting those files. Where are they, Pam? Where are they? You know, who are the customers? Who are the customers that were paying all this money to go visit Epstein Island and the other place that Jeffrey Epstein had out in Arizona? And believe me, that's only the tip of the iceberg. There are plenty of other Epstein Islands out there. And then there's, of course, P. Diddy. Okay, what happened to those videos? Where are those? I mean, they said that they had, 1,500 hours of videos to go through or something like that, or 1,500 videos. Maybe they're longer than an hour. I don't know. But the prosecutor in the case said, yeah, there's a lot of very, very well-known people on these videos. And I don't know, maybe they realize that if they were to release this information, there would be absolute chaos. Because a huge number of our elected officials are prominent Hollywood figures, prominent sports figures, prominent business figures. They're all involved, all of them. And maybe that's why they can't release it. I don't know. Maybe the ripple effect would be just too much for people to handle. But there's a gentleman that made his own editorial comment, shall we say. And I know it's probably very difficult for a lot of people to hear. And this is one of the reasons why the liberals, the extreme left out there, they just don't want to hear this. They are blocking this out. You know, they close their eyes, they plug their ears, and they go, la, 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 la. You know, and we conservatives, we just want to wake up the left. Will you just look? Just listen. Look at the documentation. Look at the history. You know, I mean, look at what's going on in Palestine, and who are these people that are behind this genocide or this extermination of an entire people? You know, where did they come from? What was behind the Bolshevik Revolution? What happened? Who was behind that? How did that have to do with the Third Reich and Hitler? You know, people don't know about this stuff. But I mean, if you do a little research, do some reading, you'll find out. And this is maybe why they're having, we've been hearing about the Great Awakening, the shift that's happening. Well, that is happening. But along with that is, quote unquote, the noticing. And that is very interesting what's going on. People are doing a lot of research into history going back thousands of years and finding out that there are evil forces that predate the Old Testament that are still around. Those beliefs are still happening. Anyway, I want to share with you an editorial comment. I don't know who this individual was. It was posted on X, and I thought that it was very interesting. So anyway, give this a listen. In the meantime, again, I open up the phone lines, 215-867-8255, if you want to join the conversation. Here is an editorial comment from an unknown individual that I believe needs to be heard. Here it is.
If you're wondering why the society you've lived in all your life feels as if it's being pulled from under you like a rug, it's because while you weren't paying attention, your wholesome values were quietly reclassified as ugly prejudices, and now you are the problem. You believe in free speech? No, you believe in hate speech, and now you're a criminal. You like democratic sovereignty? Then you're a xenophobe and a fascist. No platform for you. You want a secular society, you Islamophobic racist? You're spreading hate, and you'd better be using the right pronoun too, if you don't want to be excluded for the sake of inclusion. In short, there's no place for you or your kind in the bright new tomorrow we're building. Now that the minds of an entire generation have been thoroughly rinsed through a progressive education that hates Western culture and everything it stands for, and everything that you hold dear, there's been a climate change that you didn't see coming. The climate has changed against you and your privilege, and without wishing to put too fine a point on it, your presence is no longer required. The best way to destroy the foundations of a society is to teach its young people not to respect them. And a whole generation has now been successfully taught not to value free speech, the very cornerstone of our civilization, but to hold it in contempt and to fear it, to run from it, to seek refuge from ideas in emotional safe spaces, and to believe that hurting somebody's feelings is a form of assault on a par with cracking their skull. This tyranny of feelings has been carefully nurtured to breed this infantile generation of emotional casualties, victims and crybabies, this generation of moral and political half-wits who can't wait to sign the next petition to shut somebody up or shut somebody down, never thinking for a moment that it could ever happen to them. A generation so placidly happy to soar off the branch they're sitting on, it's almost as if they've been programmed in some way. So if you think that you've got the truth on your side, you don't know what you're up against. The truth is incorrect and therefore inadmissible. If you think that you've got the law on your side, forget it. The law protects feelings now, but not your feelings. Your feelings are hate. Well, what about your right to free expression under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, you ask? Optimistically. Nice try, but we both know that in the real world, human rights don't apply to the wrong opinions. Are you crazy? The wrong opinions are hate. You need to understand that when breeding the perfect captive society of self-policing petty censors, you can't afford to let somebody just come along and undermine it with a rational argument. So feelings outrank rational argument now. You probably noticed that when you were banned from social media. And rational argument, when it hurts somebody's feelings, is, you've guessed it, hate. You see, progressive moral righteousness can make up these rules as it goes along, because it's got itself on its side. So really, you can't win. They won't even listen to your arguments as they beat you down with their phony buzzwords. It's not about arguments or ideas anymore. That debate is illegitimate. It's about you being a racist monster, causing division and spreading hate. And it's about dangerous fascist throwbacks like you being aggressively purged from our society like a cancer. Just so you know what you're dealing with here, welcome to Progressive Utopia.
Progressive Utopia. Yeah, up is down, right is left, black is white, everything is bass-ackwards. And it's really sad. Because what's been happening in our country over the past decade with this extreme left progressive movement has created divisions within families and work groups. Mothers are being separated from their sons because of their political beliefs. Fathers are being separated from their daughters because of cancel culture. And it's really sad because this is the division that the powers that be want. They don't want us to be able to stop, think, and converse and figure this stuff out. So they create all of these barriers, white against black, racism, homophobia, Islamophobia, homophobia, all these different phobias, so that we divide and we can't basically even have a conversation. Because God forbid if we were to open our minds and have honest expression of ideas, we might be able to figure all this stuff out. But the problem is we've got too many people out there that live with an exclamation point over their head. There's two kinds of people. People have an exclamation point over their head and others who have a question mark over their head. Now, the people with the exclamation point, they know. Absolutely. It's like a statement, a bold statement, exclamation point. I know. You can't tell me anything because I already know. And that means that the doors to their mind are closed. They can't take in any more information because they know. Now, the other people that have a question mark over their head, they want to know. They don't accept things for face value. They want to know, when they see something, they want to know why. And these are the people whose doors are open. And that means that they're going to grow. They're going to, to progress. So that means that the progressives are actually anti-progressives. I mean, that's why I was saying everything is bass-ackwards. Everything is upside down. Topsy-turvy, right and wrong, But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there because it's painfully obvious to me, and I don't know, probably it is to most of you as well. For those of you listening on this network, I mean, this is certainly not MSNBC. No. But I don't want you conservatives to get too doggone comfortable because there are wolves in our ranks. And as I was saying a little bit earlier in this broadcast, is that there's misinformation and disinformation being supplied, distributed by both sides. Yes, we know that the left, the mainstream left-leaning media has been lying through their teeth. We just heard this Maria Bontalova, whatever her name is, saying that the FDA has now approved ivermectin after years of saying it was bad, it was horrible, it was horse goo. And now they're saying, oh, well, yeah, if you've got COVID, yeah, go ahead and take that ivermectin. It'll probably help. And now they're finding out that ivermectin could be used for cancer treatments. Oh, yeah, I wonder how Big Pharma is going to feel about that. And then we get into hydroxychloroquine. And then we get into methylene blue. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things out there that have been suppressed. We've been told, time and time again, this food is bad for you. Then you find out that it's actually good for you. That red wine is bad for you. Red wine is good for you. Coffee is bad for you. Coffee is good for you. They keep everybody off balance so that they can, manipulate you. And this is standard operating procedure. This is what goes on across the board. So I just, like I said, I'm throwing this out there. It's up to you to do your own research. Am I just blowing smoke? Am I making this stuff up? No. This is why, I bring the audio receipts and I also, quote from the documents. And again, I'll tell you, it doesn't make any difference what I believe. It doesn't make any difference what you believe. What matters is what they believe. And they are going to do any and everything that they can to keep you confused, off balance, divided, and ignorant. And all you need to do is look at the Department of Education. Of course, a lot of these, lefties are screaming, no, you can't take that. No, take that away from us. We need the Department of Education. We need all that money, And I think it's only 2 or 3% of the money that goes to the Department of Education is actually spent on education. The rest of it is administrative. And, all this money that's being, circulated and thrown around through NGOs. And meanwhile, the liberals, they want to keep their hand in that cookie jar, but there are those of us who are standing up and saying, no, you can't have that. No.
No. No.
Those are the liberals right now. I mean, they're just freaking out. I mean, and the ones who are screaming the loudest obviously have the most to lose. And by the way, there's this website. Let me see if I can pull that up on my browser here. Let me see. What is it? It is. It's QuiverQuant. QuiverQuant. It's QUIVER. QuiverQuant. QUANT. QuiverQuant.com. Well, what happens when you go to that website? Well, you can find out the trading habits of your elected officials. And when you go to that website, it says trending now on Quiver. There's Nancy Pelosi right there. And what's this? Marjorie Taylor Greene? Oh, you conservatives think that the Republicans are squeaky clean? No. Marjorie, hey, guess what, Marjorie? Her net worth is $22 million, $22.06 million. Her trade volume is $7.59 million. Total trades, let's see, 400 trades, last traded April 9th, 2025. And yes, you can trace your elected officials. You just type in their name, and you can track what their trading activities are and how much their worth is. So again, I point out, I'm sorry, MTG. I'm sorry. You know, I like a lot of what you do. I really do. But, you know, the truth is an ultimate. You can't have most of the truth. You either have the truth or you don't. It's like pregnancy. You can't be mostly pregnant or a little pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not. And the same thing is for truth and honesty. Either you're honest or you're not. There is no middle ground. There is no fence. There is no gray area. The truth is it doesn't wait for the right time to reveal itself. You know, the truth doesn't care about being politically correct. The truth is the truth. And it's as simple as that. Anyway, I just wanted to share that website. And again, I encourage everybody not to believe anything that I say. Don't believe a word of it. Do your own research. I'm just here to plant the seeds. It's up to you to tend the garden. And hopefully I'm doing so in such a way that you find palatable. I mean, I don't want to piss anybody off, but in some cases, sometimes I do. Yeah, there's a good reason to piss a lot of people off. But I want to do so, like I said, with a spoonful of sugar because it helps the medicine go down. Because the truth is indeed a bitter pill. Anyway, that said, oh gosh, let's see, what do we have in store for tomorrow? Every day is different. I got to tell you that, you know, living in this world today is like living in a soap opera, and it never ends. And every day there's a new episode. Every day there are several new episodes, depending upon what topic that you're focusing in on. But anyway, that said, I also want to remind you as we come to a close that this broadcast is brought to you in part by the Wave Watch. Now, you regular listeners know how important Tesla technology and frequencies are. And hopefully you all know who Royal Raymond Rife was, and you know what a Rife machine is. Well, the Wave Watch is a Rife machine that you wear on your wrist. And I'm not here to say it's going to cure or treat anything. This is for your entertainment and educational purposes only. But the bottom line here is that this little Rife machine that you wear on your wrist can help you with all kinds of different problems. So go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and check it out, because the Wave Watch is something that I've jumped on because I know that Rife technology works. It really does. Tesla told us so anyway. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today's Wednesday installment of the WTF Reports. I'm Dave vonKleist. I appreciate your listenership, and even more so if you're listening on BitChute or Rumble or YouTube or one of the other platforms, please subscribe, like, and share. Let your friends and family know that there is an audio podcast here that's got some interesting things to contribute. So anyway, that said, we'll be back tomorrow. God bless you all. Thank you for your listenership. And stay safe, and above all, stay free. God bless you all.